This was awesome. Thank you for tuning in.
Welcome everyone to another episode of High Low News, where we are interviewing dope people in the community who have information that we need to know. And today I am super excited to have LaQuisha Beard from the Opa-locka Community Development Corporation. I got it right? OLCDC.
You got it right. You did it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on, girl. I really appreciate this.
No, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Like, I really do appreciate you. And we've been trying to link up for a minute now. So it was high time.
Yes, it was. And today we're talking about something that's really important. And I'm happy that I was able to get you on because the 2020 census is so important this year. You know, everything that's going on in the country, everything that's going on in the world, but this is something that can help push that needle forward, especially for communities that deserve it. And the Opa-locka CDC is doing some cool things with the census. Can you tell me more about that and what you guys' role is with the census this year?
Yes. So we have taken the initiative to have our hand all the way in regards to the 2020 census. So we're targeting what's called hard to count areas, which is where
Okay.
areas where people aren't taking the census, which are areas like Opa-locka, areas like Miami Gardens, areas like Liberty City, areas like Little Haiti. So we're targeting those areas to make sure that the people in those particular communities are being accounted for, because it is so important, because that federal funding does eventually get filtered back into those communities based on the amount of people that have taken the census. And so if you have not taken the census, part of that money that is allocated for you specifically does not get filtered back into those communities. And it's so important that the communities in Miami-Dade County get every dollar that they so deserve. So we have
Yeah.
several things going on. We canvass the community. We've sent out text messages to people in our community, reminding them, here's the link to take the census if you haven't already. We've given out food to ensure, like, since the pandemic has been going on, we've been making sure that people are well fed and eating. But in the process of making sure your belly is full, take this census. So we've definitely been trying to make sure people in our area is being accounted for, because it's important. And this is something that is not talked about as much, but the Opa-locka CDC is making sure that that's not a problem in our area.
And I'm so happy to see that a lot of nonprofits like you guys are standing in the gap and making sure that we are counted, the census, and that the messaging around it is different this time. And people, to me, I was under someone's post and they were like bashing the census, and the comments under it were like, they were really for it. And I thought that was really cool to see people have a different perspective this time around about the census. And I think it's kind of like the work that you guys are doing with your messaging and your outreach. That's part of, like, that's changing that feel we have about the census. But what are some common misconceptions that people still have about it? Because it's always seemed like this big brother is watching thing, even though we know it's not that. But what are some common misconceptions that you hear?
So one of the biggest issues that we've seen within our particular target audiences is people think that because if you're an immigrant, that somehow, because of the current administration that we're under, that somehow if you take the census and you are accounted for, that is just a means for you to be deported if you are not properly documented. And that can be nothing farther than from the truth. If you take the census, it is a federal crime for anybody to use any of your census information against you. So
Wow.
it's 100% safe. The government cannot use any information that you give them. And it is important that even undocumented citizens take the census, because you're living in these communities. So we still need to account for you being in a particular area to make sure that that community is built up right with the proper funding. So that's probably the biggest misconception that we've seen for the census that we've been trying to tackle head on.
That's good to know. And I've also heard people say, well, maybe, they in these streets or something like that, and it's going to be a way for them to be tracked down. And I'm so happy that you said that the information that you give can't be used against you in that
Cannot.
way.
Cannot. If anybody, and that's a good point to drive home, because census takers are now out. The census counters, they're out in the communities making sure that people have taken the census. So if you have not taken your census, you probably will receive a knock at your door from somebody asking you, have you taken the census? But because of the times that we're in, there are people out there impersonating census takers. And one of
Mm.
the things that the census, the actual federal census takers will not do is ask you for your personal information, because you have to enter that information completely into the census system. They will not be personally taking your information. So that's just a little tidbit for anybody watching. If anybody's out there asking you for your personal information, they are probably not a census taker. They
Okay, wait,
federal census takers
wait.
won't do
What's personal information? So I was at my boyfriend's house, and the census taker came. Well, I thought they were. They showed me a badge, and they asked about his name, his birthday,
that.
and they didn't ask social, but
Correct.
they asked those two things, and I can't
Correct.
remember what else it was. But what are the things? Now that's something I didn't even think about. But what should we not be telling them so we can make sure we're talking to an official census worker?
So the one thing that you definitely don't want to tell them is your social security number. Federal census takers will not be asking for that information. Another thing that they usually won't ask for is like your phone number. They will usually ask for your first name, your last name, and your date of birth, just to make sure that that person that lives in that household is actually living there. Not
Okay.
necessarily to use that information against you. No, 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 no. It's
Girl,
not to
I
use it
thought I
against
gave
you.
his.
No.
I thought I gave him away
No,
to
no, 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 no.
him.
He's good. He's good, sis. He's good. He's good. But definitely, if they're asking for your social security number, that is a red flag. Do not give them that information, because they will not be doing that. And also, census workers are supposed to be wearing masks. They are mandated by the federal government to be wearing masks. If they are not wearing a mask, I probably would question whether or not they're a real census taker, because they are
Mm.
mandated to be wearing a mask.
This is good stuff to know. So
Yeah.
when is the deadline for the census? Like how much time do people have left to take it?
So you all have roughly, let me look at my calendar, roughly 3 weeks to take the census. A little less than 3 weeks, the deadline to take the census is currently pending, but as it stands now, the current deadline is September the 30th. They may push it back to October 31st. We will know next week sometime, but right now, as it stands, you have until September 30th to take your census. And if you have not taken your census, you can go online and take it at my2020census.gov. You can take your census by phone, or you can look on their website and you can request a paper application as well. But you definitely need to make sure you're getting counted this year. And the one of the things that we want to educate people on is you want to count everybody in your household. That
Mm.
includes your cousin if your cousin is staying with you. That includes grandma. That includes uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters, spouses, friends, anybody that is currently living in your household. You should be counting them on your personal census. Absolutely. And that also includes unborn babies that will be born this year. You should also account for them in the census too.
Wow, that is good stuff to know. And how can people connect with the OLCDC or yourself if they're trying to get more information or ask more questions? You guys seem to be a really great resource for people in the community. So how can people connect with you guys?
Absolutely. So you can find us on our website at olcdc.org, and you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter with the @ OLCDC. We're everywhere OLCDC. We're here for the community, we're here for the people, and we're here to educate. That's what we're all about.
I love it. And what I'm doing right now, if I look a little bit distracted, I'm not. I am making sure I get your information up on the screen. I want that to
Absolutely.
scroll while people are watching. I have the 2020 census.gov. I have connect with olcdc.org and in social media at olcdc. So if you guys have any questions about the census, LaQuisha, you gave such great information. And honestly, you just educated me on some stuff. I'm like, don't be giving out your social security number to random people saying they the census. Like, LaQuisha,
Please
let us
don't.
know.
Please don't. The OLC are not responsible for that. Please do not give these people your social security number. Input that information when you're actually doing your census. But it is 100% safe, and it's so important that every single person takes the census. Every single person.
Yes, it is. You guys make sure, again, take the census. Right now, the pending deadline is September 30th. So just go on there, go on to the website, ask the OLCDC if you have any questions, but make sure we are counted. That's how we get our things. That's how we get our roads paved, different funding for our communities. That's the big thing right now. Like, how do we get resources in our community? This is a part of that. And the OLCDC is out here making sure we know what to do and how to do it the right way with the census this year. So thank you again,
Absolutely.
Lakeisha. Beautiful spirit to go with a beautiful face. I'm so happy we are able to
Thank
connect. And I
you.
hope that this is not the last time. Please come back and share with us what the CDC has going on, any initiatives. I love to keep this partnership going, and I love for people like you to come on and inform the audience and the community because it's so needed. Thank you guys again for watching another episode of Hello News, where we get to talk with dope people in the community. We'll catch you guys next time.